Lee Tae-ho stepped off the transport shuttle and looked around Station Nexus Prime. The massive space station floated in the darkness between stars. It was bigger than any city on Earth. Lights blinked along its metal walls like stars in the bare night sky. He had never seen anything like it. "Ambassador, we need to move," said Park Soo-jin, his assistant. She carried a tablet and looked nervous. "The council meeting starts in 1 hour." Lee Tae-ho nodded. He wore his best black suit with the Earth flag on his chest. Today, he would speak for all humans in the galaxy. 8 billion people back home were counting on him. The weight of that responsibility sat heavy on his shoulders. They walked through long corridors filled with strange beings. Some looked like walking crystals that sparkled in the light. Others were tall and thin with many arms. A few floated in the air inside glass bubbles filled with colored gas. None of them looked at the humans as they passed. "Tell me about them again," Lee Tae-ho said quietly. Park Soo-jin checked her tablet. "The crystal ones are Vorthok. They think they are the smartest species in the galaxy. The tall ones with many arms are Nimari. They live in gas clouds and hate solid planets. The lizard people are Kelthron. They like to fight and take things from weaker species. And they all hate humans? They think we are too young and stupid to matter," Park Soo-jin said. "They have been traveling between stars for thousands of years. We only learned how to do it 50 years ago." The council chamber was huge. It looked like a giant bowl turned upside down. Seats went up and up in circles around a small stage in the center. Hundreds of alien beings sat in those seats. Their eyes followed Lee Tae-ho as he walked to the center, the largest crystal being spoke. Its voice sounded like breaking glass. "I am Council Prime Thexnara. You are the human who wants to join our council?" "I am Ambassador Lee Tae-ho speaking for all humanity," he said. His voice was calm and strong. "We come in peace, seeking friendship with all species." Some aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Others whispered to each other in languages that hurt to hear. "Your species is very young," said Thexnara. "You have only been in space for a few decades. We have ruled the galaxy for millennia. What makes you think you belong here?" Lee Tae-ho had prepared for this question. "Humanity has built 17 colonies across 9 star systems. We developed faster-than-light travel on our own. Our planet is united under one government for the first time in our history. We have much to offer the galaxy." A large, lizard-like creature stood up. Its scales were dark green and its teeth were sharp. "I am Councillor Velthar of the Kelthron Republic. Your species has a history of violence. You fight wars over small pieces of land. You kill your own kind for resources. Why should we trust you with the galaxy?" "Every species has a past," Lee Tae-ho replied. "We learned from our mistakes. We chose to work together instead of fighting. That is why we were able to reach the stars." "Pretty words," said Velthar. "But words are easy. Your people are young and foolish. You expand too fast and ask questions later. Perhaps you need guidance from older, wiser species." An insect-like creature with too many legs clicked as it spoke. "I am Councillor Morden of the Zifti Hive. We have watched your expansion. You build colonies without asking permission. You take resources without paying proper taxes. This shows your species lacks proper respect for galactic law." Lee Tae-ho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "We were not aware of these laws. No one told us about them. We would be happy to follow proper procedures if someone would teach us." "That is exactly the problem," said Thexnara. "Your species acts first and thinks later. This could cause problems for everyone. Perhaps you need time to learn proper behavior before joining the council." The aliens talked among themselves for several minutes. Lee Tae-ho stood in the center, feeling very small. Park Soo-jin moved closer to him. "They already decided," she whispered. "This is just for show." Finally, Thexnara spoke again. "The Galactic Council has made its decision. Humanity will be granted provisional observer status. You may watch our meetings and learn how a proper civilization behaves. After a few centuries, we will consider full membership." "Observer status?" Lee Tae-ho asked. "What does that mean?" "It means you sit quietly and watch," Velthar said with what might have been a smile. "You do not speak unless asked. You do not vote on any decisions. You learn your place in the galaxy." Lee Tae-ho felt his hands curl into fists. Observer status was an insult. It meant humans were not good enough to be real members. They were children who needed to be watched by adults. "We accept," he said through gritted teeth. "For now." The aliens seemed satisfied. They started talking about other business as if the humans were no longer there. Lee Tae-ho and Park Soo-jin were shown to small seats in the back corner of the chamber. From there, they could watch, but not participate. For 3 hours, they listened to aliens discuss trade routes, territory disputes, and resource allocation. None of it involved human space. It was as if humanity did not exist. When the meeting ended, Lee Tae-ho and Park Soo-jin walked back to their quarters in silence. The station corridors seemed longer and darker than before. "That could have gone better," Park Soo-jin said once they were alone. "They never intended to accept us," Lee Tae-ho replied. "This was about showing us our place. They want us to know we are beneath them." Park Soo-jin nodded. "What do we do now?" "We wait. We watch. We learn everything we can about them." Lee Tae-ho looked out the window at the stars. "And we hope Earth is ready for what comes next." As if summoned by his words, his communication device beeped. A message from Earth appeared on the screen. Park Soo-jin read it first. Her face went pale. "What is it?" Lee Tae-ho asked. "Kelthran ships attacked New Sol Colony," she said, her voice shaking. 50,000 people are dead. They say it was a misunderstanding about territory rights." Lee Tae-ho stared at the message. New Sol was one of humanity's newest colonies. Families had moved there to start new lives. Now they were gone. "Get me a meeting with the council," he said. "Emergency session." "Sir, we only have observer status. We cannot call meetings." "Then we request one." "Politely." Lee Tae-ho's voice was cold as space. "Let us see how the council handles justice." Outside their window, the stars continued to shine, but to Lee Tae-ho they seemed much colder than before. 3 days passed before the council agreed to hear about the attack on New Sol. Lee Tae-ho stood in the same spot where he had first addressed them. This time he felt different. The polite diplomat was still there, but something harder lived beneath his calm surface. "Council members," he began, "I come before you seeking justice for 50,000 innocent people who died in an unprovoked attack." The chamber buzzed with alien voices. Many sounded bored. Some seemed annoyed that their time was being wasted on human problems. Council Prime. Thexanara's crystal body flickered with different colors. "Ambassador Lee, we understand your concern. However, the incident at New Sol was not unprovoked. Your people built a colony in disputed space." "Disputed by whom?" Lee Tae-ho asked. "We found no signs of previous settlement. No claims were filed with any authority we knew about." Councillor Velthar examined his claws as if they were more interesting than dead humans. "The Kelthran Republic has traditional hunting grounds in that sector. Your people should have asked permission before building there." "Hunting grounds?" Park Soo-jin whispered from behind Lee Tae-ho. "They are talking about people like animals." Lee Tae-ho kept his voice steady. "These were families, children. They were building homes and farms. They were not soldiers or threats to anyone." "Young species often make mistakes," said Councillor Morden, clicking his mandibles. "This is why you need guidance from older civilizations. Perhaps if you had waited for proper council approval, this tragedy could have been avoided." The words hit Lee Tae-ho like a physical blow. They were blaming humanity for being attacked. In their view, the victims were at fault for existing in the wrong place. So murder is acceptable as long as the victims did not ask permission to live? He asked. No one said anything about murder, Thexnara replied coldly. The Kelthran were exercising their ancient rights. Your people were trespassing. There are always consequences for such actions. Li Teho felt rage building in his chest. He thought about the families on New Sol, children playing in gardens, parents working to build a better life, all of them reduced to consequences by these creatures. What kind of justice does the council offer? He asked. We are prepared to be generous, Velthar said with his sharp-toothed smile. The Kelthran Republic offers its regrets for the misunderstanding. We will even provide a formal apology in our native language. In your language only? Of course. Learning Kelthran will be good practice for your species. You need to understand how things work in the galaxy. Park Soo-jin stepped forward with her tablet. Ambassador, Dr. Kim Hyo-jin has finished her analysis of the attack. Dr. Kim was humanity's best expert on alien biology. She had studied the weapons used and the way the attack happened. Her report made Li Teho's blood run cold. The weapons used were designed to target human DNA specifically, he announced to the council. This was not a territory dispute. This was systematic extermination, genocide. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then Councillor Mordun clicked dismissively. Your scientist is inexperienced with galactic warfare. Perhaps she misunderstood the data. We could arrange for proper Vorthak scientists to review her work, Thexanara added. For a reasonable fee, of course. Young species often see patterns that do not exist. Li Teho realized what was happening. They were dismissing human intelligence. Entirely. In their view, humans were too stupid to understand their own evidence. We request an independent investigation, he said. Unnecessary, Velthar replied. The matter is closed. The Kelthran have offered their regrets. What more do you want? Justice. Punishment for mass murder. Guarantees that this will not happen again. The aliens exchanged looks that clearly meant they thought he was being unreasonable. Very well, Thexanara said finally. The Council offers humanity a generous settlement. We will provide relocation assistance to move your remaining colonies to more appropriate locations. Park Soo-jin checked her tablet quickly. Her face went pale. She whispered urgently to Li Teho about what appropriate locations meant. You want us to move to dead worlds on the edge of the galaxy, Li Teho said. Planets with no resources, no value, no life. They are perfectly suitable for a developing species, Mordun replied. Safe from any territorial disputes. You can grow there without bothering anyone. You mean we can die there without bothering anyone? That is your choice, Velthar said coldly. Accept the generous offer or face more misunderstandings like New Sol. The galaxy is a dangerous place for those who do not know their place. The threat was clear. Submit or be destroyed. Li Teho looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces. None showed any sympathy for humanity. To them, humans were just another young species to be controlled or eliminated. How long do we have? To decide? He asked. The Council is busy with important matters, Thexanara said. We can give you 10 standard days to discuss this with your government. After that, we will assume you have chosen to remain in disputed territories at your own risk. The meeting ended with aliens filing out as if nothing important had happened. Li Teho and Park Soo-jin were left standing in the empty chamber. 10 days, Park Soo-jin said quietly. That is not enough time. It is not meant to be enough time, Li Teho replied. They want us to fail so they can say we chose this fate. They walked back to their quarters in silence. The station corridors seemed to watch them with hostile eyes. Other species moved past without acknowledgement, as if humans were already ghosts. In their room, Park Soo-jin activated the secure communication link to Earth. The delay was long, but finally, President Choi Min-jun appeared on the screen. "We saw the council broadcast," he said grimly. "The whole planet is watching." "What are our options?" Lee Tae-ho asked. "Officially, we comply with their demands and hope they let us live in exile. And unofficially," President Choi's expression grew hard. "Unofficially, we have been preparing for this possibility since we first detected alien signals. General Yoon sends her regards and asks if you remember Project Mirror." Lee Tae-ho felt a cold smile cross his face. Project Mirror was humanity's deepest secret. While the galaxy saw them as primitive newcomers, humans had been watching and learning for 50 years. "Tell the general that mirrors reflect what people show them," he said carefully, knowing alien intelligence might be listening. "Sometimes people do not like what they see." "Understood. Continue your diplomatic efforts. Buy us time." "How much time do you need?" "The preparations are nearly complete. A few more days should be enough." After ending the call, Lee Tae-ho stood at the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Kelthran's ships were probably heading toward more human colonies. The aliens thought they had won. "Sir?" Park Soo-jin asked quietly. "What do we do now?" "Now we play our part," he said. "We act defeated. We beg for mercy. We make them think they have broken us." And then, Lee Tae-ho's reflection in the window showed eyes hard as steel. "Then we show them why humanity survived every predator on Earth. We show them what happens when you threaten our children." Outside, the stars watched silently, but they would not be silent much longer. President Choi Min-jun stood before the United Earth Assembly as representatives from every nation watched the screens. The recordings from the Galactic Council played for all to see. Angry voices filled the chamber as humanity's leaders witnessed their species being dismissed like insects. 50,000 people, shouted the representative from Korea. "They killed 50,000 of our people and called it a misunderstanding. They want us to crawl to the edge of the galaxy and die quietly," added the woman from Brazil. "This is not justice. This is extermination." President Choi raised his hand for silence. "The aliens have made their position clear. They see us as children who need to be controlled or eliminated. They have given us 10 days to surrender our colonies and accept exile to dead worlds. What choice do we have?" asked the man from Egypt. "Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. Their ships outnumber ours hundreds to one." General Yoon Da-hai stepped forward. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the chamber. "That is what they believe. They are wrong." She activated the main display screen. Images of massive spacecraft appeared, hidden in asteroid belts and the darkness between stars. Ships larger than anything humanity had shown to the galaxy. "For 50 years we have been preparing for this day," General Yoon said. "When we first detected alien radio signals, we knew we were not alone. We also knew that other species might not welcome us." The display showed construction yards built inside hollowed-out asteroids, factories on rogue planets that drifted between star systems, all hidden from alien eyes. Project Shadow began immediately after first contact protocols were established. While Ambassador Lee negotiated with the Council, we completed our preparations. Admiral Park Jae-sung appeared on screen from the bridge of a massive ship. Behind him, the bridge crew worked at stations that hummed with power. The Shadow Fleet consists of 3,000 combat vessels. Each one is equipped with weapons and defenses reverse-engineered from alien technology. "Reverse-engineered?" asked the representative from Russia. "How?" General Yoon smiled coldly. "The aliens have been sending scout ships into our space for decades. Some of those ships had accidents. We learned from studying the wreckage." The truth was darker than she let on. The crashes had not been accidents. Human forces had been quietly hunting alien scouts for years, learning their technology and studying their weaknesses. We have been listening to their communications, continued Admiral Park. We know their military capabilities, their trade routes, their politics. Most importantly, we know they believe we have only 200 primitive ships. President Choi looked around the chamber at the shocked faces of Earth's leaders. The question now is simple. Do we use this advantage? They murdered our people, said the representative from India. They threatened to murder more. What choice do we have? Meanwhile, on Station Nexus Prime, Lee Tae-ho played his role perfectly. He met with council members, appearing desperate and defeated. He begged for more time to convince Earth's government to accept the terms. My people are stubborn, he told Councillor Velthar during a private meeting. They do not understand how the galaxy works. Please, give us more time to make them see reason. Velthar seemed pleased by the humans' obvious desperation. Your species will learn, one way or another. The easy way or the hard way? What is the hard way? Lee Tae-ho asked, though he already knew the answer. More incidents like New Seoul. Until your people understand that resistance is futile. Engineer Oh Ji-woo arrived on the station as part of a cultural exchange program. She seemed excited about everything, asking endless questions about alien technology. The council members found her enthusiasm amusing. What they did not know was that Oh Ji-woo was installing quantum communication devices throughout the station. Tiny transmitters that looked like normal equipment, but could send instant messages across the galaxy. She also mapped every defensive system, every weapon placement, every weak point in the station's armor. Her bubbly personality made perfect cover for military intelligence gathering. The aliens are so advanced, she gushed to anyone who would listen. Humans have so much to learn from you. The council members ate up the praise. They loved being told how superior they were to the primitive humans. On Earth, the final preparations were complete. The Shadow Fleet moved into position around key council worlds. Human ships, invisible to alien sensors, waited in the darkness. Dr. Kim Hyo-jin completed her analysis of Kelthran biology. Their scales can stop most energy weapons, but they have a weakness. Their nervous system uses copper-based compounds. A specific electromagnetic frequency will paralyze them instantly. Similar weaknesses were found in every council species. The crystal Vorthak could be shattered by sonic weapons. The gas-breathing Nimari died quickly in oxygen-rich environments. Humanity had studied them all. 2 more human colonies came under attack. The Council's response was predictable. Regrettable incidents. Your people should have asked permission before building there. Lee Tae-ho stood before the Council one final time, apparently ready to surrender. He carried the documents that would exile humanity to the galaxy's edge. His hands shook as he approached the podium, and aliens whispered about how the proud human had finally been broken. What they did not see was the small communication device hidden in his jacket. A device that would send one simple message to every human ship in the galaxy. Honorable Council members, he began, his voice trembling with apparent fear. I come before you to sign the relocation agreement on behalf of humanity, Council Prime. Thexnara glowed with satisfaction. You have made the wise choice. Your species will be happier in the designated territories. Lee Tae-ho set the documents on the podium and looked up at the assembled aliens. His hands stopped, shaking. His voice grew steady. Actually, I come to deliver a different message. The chamber fell silent. Something in his tone had changed completely. The message is simple, Lee Tae-ho continued, reaching for his communication device. You wanted war. You got it. He pressed the button. Across the galaxy, human ships received the signal. Admiral Park Jae-sung smiled grimly as tactical displays lit up around him. All ships, this is Admiral Park. Execute Order Revelation, the U. Shadow Fleet decloaked simultaneously across 17 star systems. Massive human dreadnoughts appeared next to alien worlds like monsters from a nightmare. Council military bases found themselves surrounded by ships they had never seen before. On Station Nexus Prime, Lee Tae-ho watched the main display as real-time feeds showed the scope of humanity's deception. The aliens stared in shock as their intelligence reports proved completely wrong. "Impossible," whispered Thexnara. "You only have primitive ships. Our scouts confirmed this." "Your scouts saw what we wanted them to see," Lee Tae-ho replied calmly. "While you dismissed us as children, we were learning everything about you, your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses." Counselor Velthar rose from his seat, scales rattling with rage. "This is an act of war against the Galactic Council." Lee Tae-ho looked at him with cold eyes. "War? You killed 50,000 of our civilians and called it a learning experience. You planned to exile us to dead worlds. You declared war on humanity the moment you decided we were too primitive to deserve basic rights. The display showed human forces surrounding every major council installation." Admiral Park's voice echoed through the chamber. "All council military assets have been neutralized. We control hyperspace routes in 7 sectors. No hostile vessels can move without our permission." Chaos erupted as alien representatives realized the scope of their miscalculation. The species they had dismissed as primitive had outplayed them completely. Lee Tae-ho raised his voice over the noise. "The Council has 24 hours to respond to humanity's terms. Formal apologies for the murders you committed. Full reparations for our losses. Complete restructuring of the Council to include human representation as equals." "And if we refuse?" Thexanara asked, though her glow had dimmed to almost nothing. Lee Tae-ho smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Then you learn why humans survived every predator on Earth. You learn what total war really means." The council chamber had never been so quiet. Lee Tae-ho stood at the center, no longer the desperate diplomat begging for mercy. His transformation was complete. The mask of weakness had fallen away, revealing something that made even the most arrogant aliens step back. "Let me tell you a story about humanity," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the vast space. "For millions of years, we were prey animals on a world full of predators. Everything wanted to eat us. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor. We were weak and slow. The aliens listened despite themselves. Some had studied human biology and knew this was true. Do you know how we survived?" Lee Tae-ho continued. "We learned to think. We learned to cooperate. Most importantly, we learned to plan ahead. When a predator threatened our children, we did not just fight it. We hunted it down. We eliminated the threat completely." Council Prime. Thexanara's crystal form flickered nervously. "What are you saying, human?" "I am saying that you made a mistake. 50 years ago, you sent scouts into our space and thought we did not notice. You thought we were too primitive to detect your ships or understand your technology." Lee Tae-ho smiled, and several alien representatives shuddered at the expression. "We noticed. We understood, and we prepared." The main display screen came alive with tactical readings. Real-time images showed human fleets surrounding alien worlds throughout the galaxy. The scope of the deception was staggering. Admiral Park Jae-sung appeared on the screen, speaking from the bridge of humanity's flagship. "All Council military installations have been secured. Their defensive fleets are surrounded and outgunned 3-1. "Impossible!" Counselor Velthar snarled. "Our intelligence reports showed you have only primitive vessels, 200 ships at most." "Your intelligence reports showed you what we wanted you to see," Lee Tae-ho replied. "Every scout ship you sent returned with carefully crafted lies. We let you think we were weak while we built the largest fleet in galactic history." General Yoon Dahai's voice came through the speakers. "Kelthran battle fleet moving toward human space has been intercepted. Engaging now." The display showed the battle in real time. Kelthran ships that had terrified human colonies suddenly faced vessels they had never seen before. Human tactics were unlike anything in their experience. Instead of direct assault, the human ships moved like a pack of wolves, coordinating perfectly to tear apart their enemies. The Kelthran commander tried traditional battle formations that had worked for centuries. Against human opponents, they failed completely. Human ships anticipated every move, countered every strategy, and destroyed the raiders with ruthless efficiency. "How?" Velthar whispered, watching his people's ships explode on the screen. "We studied you," Li Teho said simply. "Every battle you ever fought, every tactic you ever used, every weakness in your formations. While you saw us as children, we saw you as problems to be solved." Dr. Kim Hyo-jin appeared on another screen. Kelthran biology analysis complete. Their nervous system vulnerability has been confirmed. Electromagnetic pulse weapons set to frequency 779 will paralyze them instantly without permanent damage. Without permanent damage? Counselor Morden clicked nervously. "You could kill us all but choose not to?" "We are not like you," Li Teho said coldly. "We do not murder civilians for convenience, but make no mistake, if you force us to choose between your lives and ours, we will choose ours every time." The screen shifted to show human ships surrounding the Vorthak homeworld. Their crystal cities glittered like jewels beneath the alien sun, but now they sat in the shadow of human dreadnoughts. "Your sonic resonance frequency is 228 terahertz," Dr. Kim continued. "A sustained burst at that frequency will shatter Vorthak crystal structures like glass." Thexnara's glow dimmed to almost nothing. Her people's greatest strength had become their greatest vulnerability in human hands. Engineer Oh Ji-woo appeared on screen from inside the station's control center. Her bubbly personality was gone, replaced by cold professionalism. "Station Nexus Prime defensive systems are under human control. All weapon arrays offline. Life support systems functioning normally." "You," Thexnara whispered. "You were a spy." "I was an engineer doing my job," Oh Ji-woo replied. "My job was to make sure this station could not threaten human vessels when the time came." The scope of humanity's infiltration became clear. For months, human agents had been placing themselves throughout Council space. Cultural exchanges, trade missions, diplomatic visits, all had been cover for military intelligence operations. Counselor Velthar rose from his seat, scales rattling with rage. "This is treachery. You came here speaking of peace while planning war." "We came here speaking of peace," Li Teho agreed. "You answered with genocide. 50,000 innocent people died because you thought we were too weak to matter." "That was a territorial dispute. That was murder." Li Teho's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "Targeted murder using weapons designed to kill humans. Specifically, you plan to exterminate our species and divide our worlds among yourselves." The silence that followed was deafening. Several alien representatives exchanged nervous looks. Some of them had indeed discussed dividing human territory after the expected genocide. "We intercepted your communications," Park Soo-jin said, stepping forward with her tablet. "Council Military Planning Document 77 Alpha. Quote, human space contains significant mineral wealth. Recommend complete species elimination followed by resource extraction. Kelthran and Vorthak, territorial claims to be honored." End quote. The evidence hung in the air like a death sentence. The Council had not just allowed genocide. They had planned it. "You never intended to let us live," Li Teho said quietly. "Even if we had accepted exile to dead worlds, you would have found excuses to eliminate us completely." Thexnara's crystal form was barely glowing now. "The Council acted in the best interests of galactic stability." "The Council acted like predators who found new prey," Li Teho corrected. "But you made one fatal mistake. You assumed we would react like prey animals. You forgot that humans are the apex predators of our world. The display showed more human fleets decloaking throughout the galaxy. Every major trade route now had human ships controlling passage. Council worlds found their imports and exports completely cut off. You control our supply lines, Mordun clicked nervously. We control everything, Li Teho confirmed. Your military, your trade, your communications. 3,000 human ships now occupy positions throughout Council space. You cannot move a single vessel without our permission. Admiral Park's voice echoed through the chamber again. Council fleet attempting to reach Vorthak Prime has been turned back. No shots fired. They chose to withdraw when our numerical superiority became apparent. 3,000 ships, Velthar repeated numbly. Where did you build them? Everywhere you were not looking, General Yoon replied from the screen. Asteroid belts, rogue planets, the empty space between systems. While you studied our visible colonies, we built an invisible empire. The true scope of human deception was breathtaking. An entire parallel civilization had grown in the shadows, dedicated to preparing for this moment. What do you want? Thexanara asked finally. Li Teho set down the surrender documents he had pretended to bring. Justice, the Council will issue formal apologies for the murders you committed. You will pay reparations to the families of everyone you killed. You will restructure to include human representation as equals, not observers. And if we refuse? Li Teho's smile was cold as space itself. Then you learn what total war means. Your fleets are surrounded. Your worlds are defenseless. Your food supplies are cut off. How long do you think your civilizations will last? The alien representatives looked around at each other in growing panic. They had never faced an enemy like humanity before. Other species fought for territory or resources. Humans fought for survival with a completeness that terrified them. You have 24 hours to decide, Li Teho announced. Accept our terms or face the consequences of your actions. As if to emphasize his point, the lights in the chamber dimmed briefly. Oh Jiwoo's voice came through the speakers. Sorry about that. Just running a test of the station's power systems. Everything seems to be working properly. The message was clear. Humans controlled even the air they breathed. Li Teho turned and walked toward the exit, followed by his delegation. At the doorway, he paused and looked back at the stunned aliens. You asked for war, he said quietly. You got it. 24 hours later, the council chamber felt like a funeral hall. The same aliens who had dismissed humanity as primitive children now sat in defeated silence. Their confident voices were gone. Their arrogant postures had crumbled. Fear filled the air like poison. Li Teho entered the chamber flanked by Colonel Seo Min-jae and Dr. Kim Hyo-jin. His black suit was perfect, his posture straight, his expression calm. He looked like a man who held the fate of civilizations in his hands, because he did. Council Prime. Thexanara no longer glowed with inner light. Her crystal form was dim and gray, like a dying star. Ambassador Li, she said quietly, the Council has reviewed your terms. And? Li Teho asked, though everyone in the chamber could hear the steel beneath his polite tone. The Council accepts full responsibility for the incidents involving human colonies, Thexanara continued, each word seeming to cause her pain. We offer formal apologies for the loss of life and agree to pay reparations as outlined in your demands. Counselor, Velthar sat hunched in his seat, his scales pale with fear. The Kelthran Republic also offers additional compensation for our misunderstanding at New Sol Colony. Dr. Kim Hyo-jin stepped forward with her tablet. Genetic analysis of the weapons used confirms this was not a misunderstanding. It was attempted genocide using DNA-targeted weapons. The compensation will reflect the true nature of the crime. Of course, Velthar whispered. He no longer looked like a proud warrior. He looked like a beaten animal. The restructuring of the council proved even more humiliating for the aliens. Ambassador Nam Su-bin presented the new charter that would govern galactic civilization. The document was thick with new rules and procedures. Human oversight of all military actions, she read aloud. Unanimous consent required for territorial disputes, independent investigation of war crimes, equal representation for all species regardless of age or technology level. This makes humans the dominant power in the galaxy. Counselor Mordun clicked weakly. This makes the galaxy civilized, Li Taeho corrected. No more genocide disguised as territorial disputes. No more extinction of species because they are young or weak. No more might makes right politics. The aliens knew they had no choice. Human ships surrounded their worlds. Human forces controlled their supply lines. Humanity had won completely and could dictate any terms they chose. Engineer Oh Ji-woo appeared on the main screen from the station's control center. Integration of human technology with council systems is 90% complete. All communication networks, defense grids, and transportation systems are now running on hybrid human-alien technology. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just defeated the Council militarily, they had taken over the infrastructure that held galactic civilization together. You planned this for 50 years, Thexanara said, her voice barely audible. We planned for survival, Li Taeho replied. When we detected your signals, we knew contact was inevitable. We prepared for the possibility that you would see us as a threat to be eliminated. We never. You killed 50,000 civilians. And called it a learning experience, Dr. Kim interrupted. Your own planning documents discussed complete human extinction. Do not pretend this was anything other than attempted genocide. Park Soo-jin activated a holographic display showing archived council communications, meeting records, military plans, resource allocation discussions. All of it painted a clear picture of a council that had decided humanity was expendable. 3 other species eliminated in the past century, she read from the files. The Zephyrians, too aggressive. The Kythera, too independent. The Miralans, too numerous. All destroyed by territorial disputes and cultural misunderstandings. The chamber fell silent as the true scope of council crimes became clear. Humanity was not the first young species they had tried to eliminate. They were just the first to fight back successfully. How many? Li Taeho asked quietly. How many species have you murdered over the millennia? It was never murder, Thexanara protested weakly. It was galactic management, maintaining stability. It was genocide, Colonel Seo Min-jae said from his position by the door. Systematic extermination of species you deemed inconvenient. That ends now. The new council charter included protections that would prevent future genocides, early warning systems for threatened species, automatic intervention protocols. Most importantly, human forces permanently stationed throughout the galaxy to enforce the peace. Months later, the reformed Galactic Council met in a very different atmosphere. The chamber had been rebuilt according to human specifications. Instead of a bowl where some species looked down on others, it was now a circle where all representatives sat as equals. President Choi Min-jun addressed the assembly as humanity's elected representative. His words were broadcast to every world in the galaxy. We gather today not as conquerors and conquered, but as partners in building a better future, he said. Humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to protect it from those who would destroy the innocent. The transformation was remarkable to witness. Species that had lived in fear of council power now spoke freely. Young civilizations that had been hiding in the shadows stepped forward to claim membership. The galaxy was becoming truly diverse. For the first time in millennia, 3 recently contacted species requested human protection during their integration process. The Dalari, the Ventari, and the Polven had all detected alien signals and feared what contact might bring. Humanity's reputation as protectors of the weak had spread quickly. "We remember what it was like to be new and afraid," General Yoon told their representatives. "You will not face the galaxy alone." Lee Tae-ho now worked from an office overlooking the rebuilt council chambers. His window showed ships from dozens of species arriving for the monthly assembly. Human vessels moved among them as protectors rather than conquerors. Park Soo-jin entered with reports from across the galaxy. 3 more species want to join the council: the Nexari, the Helios Collective, and the Wanderer clans. All of them specifically requested human sponsorship. And the old council members? Learning to adapt. The Vorthak are actually contributing useful scientific research now that they cannot use their knowledge as leverage for power. The Nemari opened their gas cloud cities to tourists for the first time in their history. Even some Kelthran are working as security forces, protecting the same colonies they once raided. It was a remarkable transformation. Species that had ruled through fear were learning to contribute through cooperation. The most significant change came in education. Human teachers traveled throughout the galaxy, sharing the lessons of Earth's history. They taught about the dangers of prejudice, the value of diversity, and the importance of protecting the weak. On the former Kelthran homeworld, a young Kelthran student raised her claw in class. "Teacher, why did the old council kill so many species?" The human teacher, a woman named Lee Min-jung, thought carefully before answering. "Because they forgot the most important rule of civilization. The strong exist to protect the weak, not to prey upon them." "Is that why humans fight so hard?" "We fight hard because we remember what it was like to be prey," Lee Min-jung replied. "We promised ourselves that no other species would face extinction alone." The lesson was simple but revolutionary. For the first time in galactic history, the dominant power used its strength to protect rather than exploit. Years passed. The new order became the accepted way of life. Children grew up learning that diversity was strength, that cooperation was better than conquest, that every species had value regardless of age or power. Lee Tae-ho, now older and grayer, still worked in his office overlooking the council chambers. Park Soo-jin, his faithful aide, brought him the daily reports. The galaxy was at peace. Trade flourished. New species joined the council regularly, knowing they would be protected rather than exploited. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked one day. "The way we had to reveal our strength?" Lee Tae-ho looked out at the ships from 100 different worlds. "Regret defending our children? Never. We gave the galaxy a choice. They could accept us as equals, or learn why predators fear humans. And they chose? They chose to learn. Now they understand that humanity's greatest weapon was never our ships or our technology. It was our refusal to let evil triumph without a fight." Outside his window, the stars shone peacefully. And in that peace, the galaxy grew stronger than it had ever been when ruled by fear. The human motto had become the galactic law: peace through strength, justice through action. And in schools throughout the galaxy, children learned the story of the day a single human ambassador walked into the council chamber and changed the balance of power forever. They learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. And they learned that when good people refuse to be victims, even the mightiest predators learn to fear.